Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I don't think I'm that exceptional. I think there are many colleagues, here in-house, especially you, Magali. Your leadership over the years is definitely a cornerstone of in our field of bilingual education in the country. So I'm honored to be here and joining all of you, and thank you very much for the invitation. I think that's more than now, more than ever, all of us that share this same vision and mission in supporting and our multilingual learners, our children in our multilingual communities have to be united in our efforts and stay strong and together in continuing with the mission of our work. So we are not going away, we are not moving away from our goals and commitments. So thank you very much again. So I think this is coming from the other side of the country, and definitely I think I'll take this opportunity to symbolize that. So we are, from one coast to the other coast of the country, united in the same mission. So thank you for the invitation. Oh, the clicker. Okay, so let me introduce myself a little bit personally as well. That's not in my professional bio. I'm originally from Peru. I'm an immigrant and speaker of English as a second language. I had the privilege to come to the United States as an adult to go to graduate school. And I came with a 4-year-old child. And that put me in the shoes of these children, families that are raising, as immigrants, that are raising their children in an environment where the language and culture that we bring with us is not represented or might not be represented in schools. And that's what happened. So I'm part of that journey. Back in Peru, I spent about 10 years working in schools with the children of indigenous migrants that were in Lima, that were displaced by political violence and poverty, and they were in Lima, and their children were going to schools, and the teachers. My background in psychology as a psychologist. The teachers started referring, when I arrived to that very poor area of Lima in a community health center to work, the teachers started referring the children, number of children, first graders in particular, to me, saying that these children had pre-labeled and learning disabilities, language delays, and then when I started, because they were not learning to read and write in first grade. And children at that time were repeating first grade 2 and sometimes up to 3 times. So that was pretty traumatic for the children. And the families, when the children were repeating grades and then they were promoted to second grade and did it twice again, by fourth grade, these kids didn't finish, they dropped out of school without completing primary education. So that was a very dramatic situation. And I was shocked and said, what is going on here? And so that's when I started talking with the families, assessing the children with nonverbal tests, assessments, trying to figure out what was happening. And the bottom line, in short, was the children, these families spoke indigenous languages, Quechua or Aymara, one of the indigenous languages, migrants. In Lima, the children were not learning that language because of the stigma, but the language was present, the indigenous language grammatical structures, for example, and that was because I studied later that phenomenon, was present in their Spanish that they were speaking, and therefore the teachers thought that the children were not speaking proper language, proper Spanish. So that's how I'm sharing this, because this is how my journey began back in Peru, working with populations of children and families from communities whose languages and cultures have been minoritized were not represented in the schools. And that was about 10 years of my career until life brought me to the United States. and it was life, but it was political violence in my country that really brought me here. And I became one of those parents with a child in an environment in which a language and culture, so it was like, it was a big lesson for me. And as a scholar, and also as a mother, as a parent, I've lived this for, about 40 years of my life. So I think many of us, as Jordine was sharing, we share this experience in our personal life. And I think that's what makes us so strongly committed to this topic. Okay, so I think I just wanted you to know a little bit more about myself. And now I'm going to share with you some reflections based on the work that I've been doing for some years now, and also share some of more recent findings from recent work that my colleagues and I have been doing. So let me start. How is this? Okay, it works. I'm definitely committed to early childhood. When, part of that story that I shared back in Peru is children in first grade were not learning to read and write. So what happened? We had to fix a problem that began earlier. So I started exploring, have these children attended an early childhood program? And that's how the first research questions in my mind and the first research studies that I conducted explore that connection between being able, children attending an early childhood program or not, and what type of, and the quality of this program. So I've been thinking about this for a long time. And I wanted to share with you these phrases from the position statement of the National Association for the Early Childhood Education. I'm an early childhood person, that's what I said, professional. So definitely believe of the importance of supporting children in at the very beginning of their lives. And the highlights are mine, and I want to read it aloud for you. It says, all children, and I think I chose this extract because now we need to remember this. All children have the right to equitable learning opportunities that help them achieve their full potential as engaged learners and valued members of society. Thus, all early childhood educators have a professional obligation to advance equity. They can do this best when they are effectively supported by the early learning settings in which they work, and when they and their wider communities embrace diversity and full inclusion as strength, uphold fundamental principles of fairness and justice, and work to eliminate structural inequities that limit equitable learning opportunities.